Speaker Mike Johnson has decided to shut down the House early, which means there won't be an Epstein files vote, unfortunately.
Johnson accused Democrats of trying to weaponize the, quote, very serious Epstein issue. The speaker also said he was trying to give the Trump administration space to release any further info on their own.
Here's Johnson yesterday.
What we refuse to do is participate in another one of the Democrats' political games. This is a serious matter. We are not going to let them use this as a political battering ram. The Rules Committee became the ground for them to do that. We're not going to allow them to engage in that charade anymore.
Congressman Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna both pushed back on Johnson's decision. Take a look.
They need to remember this was a promise of the Attorney General, a promise of the Vice President, a promise of the President's own children, and we got to follow through with this. The White House isn't always right.
It's shocking. I mean, it's just what people hate about Washington. They're literally adjourning Congress because they don't want to face the voters.
Meanwhile, the DOJ has announced they've reached out to former Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell for a meeting. Maxwell's lawyer said that her team was in discussion with the government and that Maxwell will always testify truthfully. That will be very interesting to hear more from her.
That meeting is that's not a good thing.
We're shutting down the House. Nothing to
okay,
see
let's
here.
go. Okay.
No more things going on.
For somebody who I told you openly, I was never interested in this until it did become the charade.
Well, that's the motto of the Democratic Party.
No, that's not the motto. Yeah. But I think that
they weren't interested when they had any power over it.
No, I wasn't interested in continuing to follow the story along and buy into the conspiracy theories and whether or not which politicians or people on the list. I wasn't that wrapped up in the story. However, the fact that there's so much like, don't worry about it. This is irrelevant. How can you dare you talk about this? Like the way that the attitudes are so all over the place, I'm extremely fascinated now. And I think now America is captivated. Even people who didn't want the files released are like, listen, you need to share something because this looks insane.
So here's the deal. Everyone on both sides of the political spectrum, aside from Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie, are now engaged in a tremendous amount of hypocrisy on this issue, making it partisan when it ought not to be. But, I will speak directly to Speaker Johnson here. This position you are taking is not a tenable one. The promise to release more information about the Epstein files was ironclad, was made not exactly by Trump himself, but by so many of his surrogates, including Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and others, and J.D. Vance and others. It was a clearly communicated promise, and it was predicated on knowledge. Even as they took power, with Pam Bondi, she not just implied, stated, the way she structured the release of the files, that she had new information and you're going to get it. And for them to now say, nothing to see here, and we're done talking about this, and we will circumvent the legislative process to keep back information, that is not going to work. That cannot be sold to MAGA. The base is not that stupid. I'm sorry that you are treating them like they're idiots and they will just be distracted by some other shiny object. That's not the case. This is the base is turning on Trump over this more than anything else. I'm not saying it's the most important issue in the world, and I'm not even necessarily disagreeing with their assertion that there isn't much else here. But if that's the case, they did this all wrong by promising more. You promised more, and now to say there's not more, it's not going to work, my friends. Can't do it.
Completely agree. And also the sheer audacity to know that the House is going to break and recess even earlier when Americans are still thinking about the economy and so many things. And there are real bills and opportunities for bipartisan conversations to happen before most people get on their own summer breaks. Yeah. It's kind of wild to consider.
Maybe they could go on break and not come back.
I mean, they have gotten a historically low number of bills passed in this Congress. So the fact that there was a little bit of bipartisan conversation here and still nothing being done is also unfortunate for Americans that are like, okay, we were on the same page for one thing. So up next, the longtime editor-in-chief of NPR has stepped down. I have some things to say about that in my lens coming up. Stick around.